Lila Bjorklund is Eric's mother, and we started helping Lila with various things at Utah Youth Village that she created in June of 1975. Once we were married, we were doing whatever volunteer things we needed to do to help her, because she was running the Utah Youth Village from the basement of her home at that time. So this went on many, many years, and the board asked Eric if he would mind running the village and coming on full time. We were trying to weigh things out, and we figured that maybe this was not for us and that we wanted to pursue his practice and get it up and going and cut out the service that he was doing for Utah Youth Village. So he told the board that we really didn't have time to put as much effort into Utah Youth Village. After a few months, we realized we made the wrong choice. He loved working for the village. He loved working with the people at the village. He loved the mission. So we decided that we would go full-time with the village.
As much as it's been an honor all these years to work under the legacy of Lila, knowing that this was her organization that she founded, it has also been an honor and a privilege to look back on the years Eric has been here and to know that this is now Eric's legacy as well.
You know, over the last several years, as Ann and I have attended these Helping Hand Award galas, in the back of our minds, we've always thought that Eric is the literal embodiment of a helping hand.
When I look at Eric, I've often been reminded of that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, because Eric reminds me of Jimmy Stewart, who could have taken a lucrative job and made a lot of money, and instead he decided to stay and help this little village, this little community that he created. And Sylvia's like the beautiful Donna Reed, who's always been by his side to support him in every way she could in raising the kids at home.
Ann and I have worked with a lot of charitable entities over the last 30 plus years, and I can't think of a single manager, executive of a charitable nonprofit entity who does a better job of implementing the vision of that charity than Eric. You always know when you have a vibrant leader, because the core management team tends to be extraordinarily robust. And this core management team around Eric over these last 37 years has an average tenure, I'll bet, in excess of 20, 25 years. And again, it reflects that vision and that integrity at the top.
I would have to say the greatest accomplishment is Families First. The innovative, taking it into the home, and now the ability that the village has to share that nationally. Eric has always had a deep belief in the effectiveness of the teaching family model. He has worked tirelessly with the state of Utah to introduce that and to have it be funded.
I think the fact that he has so fully embraced this model has made it so that it's a non-negotiable for us at Utah Youth Village to implement the teaching family model to the fullest. He received the highest award there is within the Teaching Family Association, which is called the Mont Wolf Award. Was so deserving of that. He advocates for the teaching family model every place he goes, and it really has just made it so that it is such a strong foundation at Utah Youth Village.
He took the parenting courses 3 or 4 times. It really changed him and softened him and made him a better parent, better father, a better husband. But I know our family is intact and doing very well today and doing wonderful in their families because of Utah Youth Village and the teaching family model.
I think Eric's greatest accomplishments have been the breadth of services that we have grown to provide. Eric has led the organization to provide services to incredibly needy young people and families in our area. And then that's been expanded to bring in young people from all over the country and bless their lives. And finally now we're spreading principles of dealing in family organizations and dealing with children worldwide. All of that under Eric's leadership.
Probably the one that stands out the most is the creation of Alpine Academy, making Alpine Academy happen so that there will be renewable funding source that goes on and on.
In order to fund Families First, we've been able, and through his innovation, create a campus, Alpine Academy. We not only get to serve those children through the residential program, but we're also able to fund Families First work.
That really is an extraordinary entrepreneurial accomplishment in the social services segment of the economy. And I think it was very, very appropriate that a few years ago, Eric was recognized as the Entrepreneur of the Year for his extraordinarily unique accomplishments in the nonprofit sector.
So Eric would spend a lot of time up on Capitol Hill here in Utah and back in Washington, D.C. And he did a lot of lobbying. In fact, he was personally responsible for important changes to a recent federal law to help families to successfully keep children out of the corrections and child welfare worlds.
You think about the providers and how many families and youth that all of their agencies help. And so it's really hard to quantify the amount of good that he has done in the state of Utah and now, far beyond that. In my 28 years at Utah Youth Village, the past 15 have been working side by side with Eric, very closely. And some of the things about Eric that others may not know is just how fun he is. He is like a fun 14-year-old boy wrapped into a very professional body, and he just loves to get out and help people have a fun time and explore. And I think that's something that if you only saw Eric from a distance or in his professional role, that you may not know about him.
And my first experience is we were getting ready to start a project out in Urda, and there was some work to be done out there, and I pulled up and there was this guy in bib overalls and boots and hat, and I didn't know if it was the farmer from Urda or if it was Eric. I'm going, Eric, what are you doing? I'm on this backhoe moving dirt. And that was my first experience with Eric. So he loved to get his hands dirty.
Well, it is common knowledge that Eric knows how to get things done. There's some Ericisms that sometimes we use. And one in particular is if we're working on something and it maybe needs a little persuasion, he was often would say, we just need a bigger hammer.
Eric's probably the best quick change artist that I know. He'd come in the morning for a board meeting. Maybe he was out at Alpine working on something, overalls or shorts, and then pretty soon, suit, tie.
Another Ericism that often gets stated is, oh, this will only take 10 minutes. And 4 hours later, we're still going.
He's always looking for ways to make improvements to things. I mean, just a matter of hours after we purchased the property for the Lakeview campus, we found out that the wells that we thought would be drilled, that we've done for, many, many years and over, that wasn't the case. And, so he just looked into, well, how do we build a water system then? And figured it out and learned new things. He was always very eager to learn new things and to figure out how he could do something instead of us having to hire someone, thinking about the charity that we are. Let's do it ourselves. Let's save some money and spend as much money as we can on the kids and the families.
And he would do this to save money for the village, so the village wouldn't have to pay, and he would get the work done. And if he didn't know how to do it, he would learn how, and he would put the rest of us to work too. So no sitting by. We just worked hard, and it was good for my kids to learn how to help him.
One time in particular, I thought, I know we're going to end up staying late for this project, so I'm just going to let Eric know, hey, it's going to get dark and we're not going to be able to see very well. And he problem solved really quickly and said, oh, it's okay, the backhoe has lights. And so that became an Ericism that even in a totally different situation to this day, we'll say, it's all right, the backhoe has lights, so we can accomplish this.
He's the essential person, again, as I said. I mean, you have legal issues when you're dealing with child care agencies. He just happens to be a lawyer. You've got development issues when you're building new group homes. He just happens to have a zest and love for digging into development issues and creating new group homes and new campuses. Again and again and again, he's more than just a titular president. He's somebody who gets into the weeds, loves the kids, spends time with individuals, and molds and changes lives.
I look at Eric as a father figure to me. I lost my dad at a really young age, and he left with some pretty big shoes to fill, and I feel like Eric has filled those shoes for my dad because I'm currently going through a really ugly divorce, and every time I've walked into Eric or Sylvia's house, I always leave better than when I came. They've basically really adopted me into their family, and they've been taking care of me and my kids.
I came to Utah Youth Village when I was about 6, and I left when I was about 11 or 12, and I've stayed connected ever since. I met Eric, it was like day 1 or 2, and I was a scared kid, you know, I just wanted a family, I wanted my family back. And Eric came over to like renovate the backyard because we didn't have one. You know, he came with the backhoe, and he invited me over to go do some construction with them at the age of 6, you know. And at the time I didn't have a father, and it was a fatherly experience, you know. It's something I won't ever forget.
I had the opportunity early on. We had a child living in the residential home that had suffered severe neglect and abuse. At that time, our staff was small, and we were all trying to help her further her life. And I'd never known her story, and I was a little bit disappointed in some setbacks that she'd had. And Eric, with emotion, the tears in his eyes, when he told me that you have to know where these children start to know of the progress that they've had. And I've just always remembered that.
When we would go to village functions with my family, and I had my wife and kids there, whether a Christmas party or a summer picnic, he would take time to find us and to talk to my wife and to say to her how valuable and important I was to the village and to Alpine Academy. And that meant the world to me, both because his words were meant for me, but also meant for her to hear and to know that he appreciated what I was doing.
And I think all of our employees knew that he cared about them and had special interest in them, and showed that on many occasions.
When Eric was out on the backhoe, some landscapers were out there, and they were working kind of separate of Eric, and Eric was driving near one of their cars, and he said the most random thing, this car just moved, and then later realized that he had moved it with his backhoe while he was just driving by it. Just randomly, mysteriously moved. So that was a fun story.
I do think, you know, that it would be hard to recognize Eric without recognizing Sylvia. I think that the support that Sylvia has given throughout Eric's career is a big part of the reason that Eric's been successful. I mean, she has been there. I don't think that Eric could have done what he has done if Sylvia wasn't behind him doing what she does.
She was just this lovely person who never complained and was just always there for him, probably in some very, very difficult times. So we're so grateful for Sylvia, because just the perfect person by his side. Whenever you're by her, you just feel enlightened and joyful and happy, because she just has such a lovely presence about her.
She just had to share his time a lot, and I think the amount of hours he spends doing things both for the village and for others he's tireless at the work that he does.
The greatest successes is as Eric stepped away, he left the company in really, really good hands. As Shanna takes over and as president of the company, we got a driver of the bus that will take us in great directions. So I would say that would be one of his greatest accomplishments.
Eric and I are so appreciative of the board members and the many people who work for Utah Youth Village that make the changes for the youth in our state and throughout the country. Without our generous donors, and without those good people and their good hearts, this work couldn't go forward. And we appreciate what they've all done, and we've loved working with them.
Eric, congratulations. I can't think of a more deserving person than you for this Helping Hand Award.
I so appreciate the love and the service and example that you've shown me. Congratulations.
Thank you for guiding us. Thank you for wearing bib overalls, of course. That's impressive. And thanks for getting in the trenches with all of us to work hard to make this all happen.
Thanks for all the many great years that I had a front row seat to your helping hand.
We will be eternally grateful for you for what you have done for children over the years and blessing so many lives. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you are the living embodiment of this Helping Hands Award. And congratulations. Ann and I are just thrilled for you.
I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate everything that you have done for me. Because of you, I am the person that I am.
I can speak for thousands, multiple thousands of children and families whose lives you've blessed. Perhaps speaking for them. Thank you.
It's been a good ride, and I'm glad I could be by your side. Thank you.